You guys, I think it's finally time to talk about ice powers. I'm talking ice blasts, ice slides, ice claps. Didn't know that was a thing. Ice heroes like Frozone, Iceman, and Jack Frost. Ice villains like Mr. Freeze, Captain Cold, and the Night King. Elsa, Sub-Zero, Killer Frost, and so much more we'll get into today. In this video, let's take a closer look at their icy abilities and how they've evolved in movies and television. So grab that cold gun and swipe that ice sword, because winter is coming. First, let's go all the way back to 1974's classic, The Year Without Santa Claus, where you might remember the Snow Miser.
I'm Mr. White Christmas. I'm Mr. Snow.
He didn't have too much screen time, but really if you think about it, Snow Miser walked so Elsa could run. Before complicated CG visuals dazzled us on screen, we gotta look at his ice powers through some good old-fashioned stop motion.
Seeing these little toys coming alive was magic because you knew they were little figures, but they were moving around.
He could turn everything he touches to snow, like hats and... yeah, that's pretty much. From his ice breath paired with a catchy tune, the Snow Miser spun his way right into our hearts. Some say he's still spinning to this very day. Almost 10 years later in Superman 3, a chemical plant erupts in flames, and when firefighters run out of water, we see Superman use his trusty ice breath. It's a move they paid homage to in Superman and Lois almost 40 years later. And in Zack Snyder's Justice League, who could ever forget when ice breath was used like this? Now let's visit the world of animation with Hercules. When the planets align, Hades finally unleashes the terrifying titans. There's the Rock Titan, the Lava Titan, the Wind Titan, and of course, the Ice Titan. With his freeze breath that even turns into a barrage of icicles, the frozen monster left a mark. But pretty soon, we were about to meet a cold and calculating fighter in the deadly starting from an addictively brutal arcade game created by a small group of friends who were very humble.
Whose idea was Mortal Kombat?
After filming actors on a blue screen set, in standing poses, walk cycles, and even mid-air jumps, they hand-selected frames for that lo-fi feel, and we got the roster of iconic fighters. Fighters that some of us might have gotten a little too attached to.
Sector's got it in the bag. Raiden would win. Even try to
But my absolute favorite one to pick was Sub-Zero. Looking like a ninja that got COVID, it felt amazing to fire an ice blast at your opponent. The look gradually evolved until we finally got a live-action version. And while we did get some good examples of his icy abilities, it wasn't until 2021 where we saw his ultimate form. Played by Joe Taslim, an actual martial artist, the rest of the cast had trouble keeping up.
I made the mistake of watching The Raid a couple nights before we fought, and I go, I gotta fight this dude? I gotta fight that dude?
For this shot, they made an enormous ice gun that could pick out targets with a laser and fire an ice bullet right at them. Yo! It's okay, just put some ice on it. And in a movie full of exotic locations and menacing monsters, ready to kill you at any moment, Sub-Zero definitely stole the show. Oh! It's fun to see how much visual effects had evolved in 25 years, and how they compare to the first time we saw them on screen. Now, the main reason his ice powers look so believable was because they did their research.
We did an enormous amount of R&D just on how to make real-looking ice in camera.
And by building out this massive set, completely covered in ice, the actors could get into the scene, and the VFX artists had real ice to match the CGI to. Now, from the bloody pixels of Mortal Kombat to the neon graffiti of Gotham, we were about to chill with Mr. Freeze.
All right, everyone. Chill. Chill.
With just a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. Damn, 12? Really? Batman and Robin is widely regarded as the cheesiest Batman movie ever. But while critics might have seen an uninspired, overproduced, and pointless spectacle, as a kid, I had a pretty fun time at the theater. I mean, I loved movies like Steel, Star Kid, and Blankman. So my bar wasn't too high.
Someone should help that lady!
You had pretty decent special effects. The introduction of Poison Ivy, who I might have made out with through a TV screen once or twice. But in the middle of it all was Victor French Fries, who, after an accident, is forced to live the rest of his life in a diamond-powered Sub-Zero suit and turns into the pun-loving villain, Mr. Freeze.
You are not sending me to the cooler. Stay cool, bird boy. Cool party.
Allow me to break the ice.
Always winterize your pipes. The blood will freeze in my hands.
If revenge is a dish best served cold,
Let's kick some ice.
Let's kick some ice. Wow.
Being part of a Batman movie, everything is a spectacle. Everything is bigger than life. So I knew that the only way is Mr. Freeze to really stand out by really going all out with the makeup, all out with the armor and with the performance.
But other than his winged moth suit, his impenetrable tank/rocket, and his ice hockey henchman, another key part of his Frozen persona was his freeze gun. And while older versions of it looked like a fire extinguisher, newer ones kicked it up a notch.
No!
And when it came time for Gotham, it looked even more threatening. For a shot like this, they filmed with multiple cameras at the same time, which let them build a three-dimensional model they could add the icy effects to. But in the early 2000s, the coolest mutant ever was about to make his big screen debut. Iceman, whose real name is Bobby Drake, dates all the way back in the comics to 1963. And ever since then, he's had a wide range of ice-related abilities.
How do you make the ice come out?
Well, or they'll ask me like, can you cool my drink down? Like there's always like weird jokes and puns.
By instantly decreasing the water vapor around him, he can put out fires, freeze anything he touches. You guys, he just froze some tea. Get over it. Shoot freeze blasts. But most importantly, use his ice powers to impress the ladies. Bobby, you little hoe. In X2, when he creates an ice wall between Wolverine and Stryker, they shined light through a blue, semi-transparent tarp on set to fake an icy shade onto the actors. In Last Stand, they started with previs, giving them this shot. And in the end battle on Alcatraz, all hell breaks loose.
Basically, Pyro's flaming up cars and Magneto's hurling them at us. And Logan pretty much gives me the nod, the A-OK to say, you know, take care of your friend. So we basically, it's a battle between fire and ice. And I win. Finally, it's been a couple years coming, so it feels good.
In Days of Future Past, we get to see him again go full Iceman. Usually when a mutant turns into their ultimate form, a mocap suit was needed that would eventually be replaced with a fully CG double. So for a shot like this, a buildup of the ice slide, a digi-double, and particle effects all came together for the final look. Yes, it was sad when the Sentinels finally got him, but this isn't goodbye. In comic book movies, the characters we love never truly die. Oh, he did. Now from Fox to Pixar, let's check in with the icy super, Frozone.
Whoa!
Oh, I like it when it shatters.
Lucius Best, who, when he was able to find his super suit,
Where is my super suit?
Why do you need to know?
You tell me where my suit is, woman!
becomes the one and only
Frozone! Yeah!
Frozone, for me, is this kind of normal, happy-go-lucky guy who has this really great superpower. He can change the climate and temperature of the environment.
And while his world was populated with all kinds of other supers, with way too many outfit changes to count, to make his look stand out, they took inspiration from classic ice skaters to swimmers.
Swimmers kind of look slippery, then the way their bodies are kind of looks like it's designed to go through water.
But his supersuit was only one part of the equation. We all loved Frozone for his ice powers.
He's blasting one character, he's freezing another character. He's a real strategic fighter. He's cool, calm, and collected, but there's this spirit in him that doesn't give up.
To get amazing moments like these, you needed people like this guy, who helped to create Frozone's iconic ice slide. Way to go, buddy. Here you go. Free back rub. In the sequel, when some unexpected visitors arrive, Frozone comes to the rescue. With all these supers gathered together, we were about to see one of the craziest fights in cinematic history. Yep, this is called layout, and it looks ridiculous. But then comes blocking, polishing, and refinements, until we get the final sequence. Mix Samuel L. Jackson, an iconic supersuit, and ice powers that I could watch all day. We got one of the most famous ice users ever.
You're my biggest fan.
Good to see.
I'm your biggest fan.
But in 2012, we were about to meet some Guardians. Nope, not Galaxy. Nope, not Gahul. Ah yes, Rise. With this movie, we pretty much got DreamWorks Avengers. You had Santa Claus, Sandman, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny. But when the villainous Pitch Black threatens to poison children's dreams all over the world, they call upon, / kidnap, Jack Frost to help save it. But where did he come from? Who is he exactly? After emerging from a frozen lake with no memory of his past, Jack slowly discovers something very important.
You see, Jack can control the winter weather, ice and snow. Jack can conjure them up and bend them to his will. And he can make a fantastic snowball.
Now, to come up with the character, they went through hundreds of designs. After initial sketches, they modeled him in 3D to figure out how he would move. And with this movement, they started working out his ice touch. To get something this complicated to work, they use something called cellular automata simulation. Sort of like how the wave works at a baseball game. As one pixel slowly expands, we start to see exponential growth, and on a larger scale, it starts to look like this. With other traits like flight, invisibility, and turning his every step into ice, his magical staff became the weapon he needed to fight against Pitch Black. And when the rest of the Guardians join in on the action, we get to see some teamwork. Something very familiar about all this. It took a while, but the reluctant hero ended up being an icy addition to the team. But in the very next year, it was finally time for the pop culture phenomenon, Frozen. Within the walls of Disney Studios lives a ton of memorable characters, but the one that sold the most merch is Elsa, played by the talented Adele Dazeem.
Adele Dazeem.
Go home, John Travolta. you're drunk. Idina Menzel not only voiced the iconic character, but with a reputation as the Queen of Broadway, she ended up singing all the songs too. Songs like Let It Go, which won multiple awards and was translated to every language on the face of the earth. But the song also started to bring out her repressed icy abilities, like emitting ice crystals, freezing the ground, making ice sculptures, and creating sentient life. I'm sorry, what? Back up. We're just not going to dive deeper into that one.
Where is your god now?
By making so many technical advancements, Elsa could show off other powers too, like ice fireworks, ice stomps, and ice shields. When enemies try to infiltrate her frozen palace, Elsa starts showing off the dangerous side to her abilities. To show ice powers like these, animators came in and used themselves as reference for how Elsa would blast enemies away. Getting so into it, they were like, sweating? I know they're not getting paid enough for that. But I think my favorite is when she runs on water. When it came time for the sequel, those sweaty animators came back to kick up the intensity of her ice blasts. For this part, where Elsa's trying to run into the ocean for some reason, I don't know, haven't watched it yet. The team sketched out key story points and animated them to get some jaw-dropping shots. When she traveled through the multiverse and ended up in Wreck-It Ralph 2, her ice powers came in handy. Standing out among her princess peers and all the Disney characters that have come before and after, Elsa wields ice powers better than anyone. But from the cheerful kingdom of Arendelle, let's travel to the bleak world of Westeros. While the ending of Game of Thrones back in 2019 might have been less than perfect,
are you happy with how things ended? Yeah. Best season ever!
You can't deny that the show itself accomplished some jaw-dropping visuals, even if you couldn't see half of them. From clever set extensions that formed mythical worlds, to massive digital armies charging into battle. From ships sailing the open seas, to explosions that blew everyone away. This show blended CGI perfectly with live action. And it's this mixture of the two that created the White Walkers.
We're adding the blue eyes. We thought that it would be a nice effect if the White Walkers on their arms is cold, they bring the cold with them.
But after a grueling makeup process that took forever,
Jeez.
The end result was always effective. Led by the cold and uncaring Night King, he had to go through the same exact process. But even though the makeup already looked amazing on set, they pushed it even further with a bit of visual effects.
We added an ice effect, plus the horns that are part of the design. We made those translucent as if they're, almost an ice sculpture.
This buildup of CG ice pushed an already terrifying villain into the realm of nightmares. After the Battle of Hardhome, the Night King shows off his signature move.
Oh! The final image of the Night King raising his hands, they want it to be like an orchestra.
He's the conductor raising his orchestra of the dead.
And while he did possess a few powers like cracking the icy ground beneath him, it was his army of undead zombies, undead horses, and even undead dragons that made the Night King a truly unstoppable force. So how did they finally kill these immortal, overpowered, and supernatural monsters?
You want another slice?
No, I'm okay.
What else is on?
Yeah, let's do what else.
Where's the TV guy?
But now let's move over to DC and get to know the icy villain, Captain Cold.
Everyone, chill out! Oh, come on! I thought we had a schedule worked out. This is my day.
Yeah, why does DC have two ice villains? I guess the same reason Marvel has two speedsters. instantly recognizable from his blue and white parka. Leonard Snart, love that last name, is perhaps the Flash's greatest enemy, and all his power comes from his infamous cold gun, a weapon with technology so advanced it could freeze anything it hits to absolute zero. When it was finally introduced in the CW, we got to see its power with some modern-day visual effects. But because they were on that CW budget, you'll notice that 99% of the time, the gun never actually froze anything. But when it did for that 1%, we got shots like these. And I love how they translate comic book panels to live action, or call back to earlier versions of the character. For the rest of the show, the cold gun was useful for a lot of other things, like freezing laser beams, and even stopping the Flash dead in his tracks. Get it together, Barry. I thought you were the fastest man alive. When carried over to the world of video games, Captain Cold showed us what else he could do. Forming ice shields, dropping ice blocks, shooting ice blasts, ice stomps, and of course, the good old 1-2 freeze and hit. Elsewhere in Central City, Caitlin Snow was slowly becoming Killer Frost. Played by Danielle Panabaker, who is no stranger to superhero stuff, her turn at being an ice user was something special.
There's not really been another Killer Frost on screen, so we get to do everything first, and we get to play, and we get to really experiment.
And while it wasn't easy making the transformation,
well, go, turn!
Well, that's not how it works. I can't just snap my fingers and make her appear. It only happens when I'm scared or angry.
When the time was right, Killer Frost showed up for work, even if she couldn't escape the ice puns.
What's the matter? Brain freeze?
This frosty supervillain wasn't too different from the ones we've already seen. She could freeze anything she touches.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Do ice screams. Make ice walls. Ice slides. Which looked better at nighttime than daytime. And even stop the Flash, which I guess is super easy to do. But interestingly, she had a few other tricks up her sleeve, like ice sealing, forming a Groot cocoon, mega clapping. Meh, I like dark lights better. Punching people with an ice fist, slashing people with an ice blade, forming ice daggers, changing into a stunt double with a bad wig, and turning into pure mist. But the power she used the most was her handy ice blast. After developing countless styles, making sure they behaved realistically, they were able to give her the amazing ability of just slightly pushing people back a few feet. Yet for all her powers, she sure got her ass handed to her. A lot. But we love her, don't we guys? Now if you've made it this far into the video, let's all enjoy this chill-ass montage of other examples of ice powers.
They call me the Ice King.